There is nothing like a big warm hug, and so our podcast today welcomes you with exactly that. If you are newly engaged or dreaming of it, or a vendor or dreaming of it, then the Feel Good Wedding podcast by Polka Dot Wedding is for you. Our mission is at Polka Dot Wedding is all about feel good weddings, and our podcast brings that to life because although we love the details, we love the bouquets, the cakes, the sparkly things, we want to dive into the stories. And we want to take you along for the ride. We're having conversations with couples, with vendors, and everyone in between. And we really hope you'll join us for this one. We have so much in store for you, so let's get started. The Polka Dot Wedding team is honoured to conduct our work on the land of the Boonwurrung, Woiwurrung, Eora, and Kurungay people. We honour the traditional Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander custodians of the land, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. Welcome back to the Feel Good Wedding podcast. Today we are joined again by the lovely Miss Rose, also known as Mary, for a very special interview about, of course, the most important part of the day, the ceremony. Mary, can you tell me a little bit about your very special guest today?
Hi, Miss Polka and Dotties. I was lucky enough to have a great chat with Josh Withers. He's a celebrant extraordinaire, and we were chatting with him all the way from Italy, where he's been holidaying with his lovely family. Josh and I chatted about all things ceremonies, surprise, surprise, being a celebrant and all, and how couples can make their wedding ceremony really unique to them and really reflect them as a couple. We also dived into a bit about Josh himself, how he became a celebrant, what this wonderful job means to him, and we talked about his In the Works book, The Rebel's Guide to Getting Married. Look, Josh is a personable, funny guy, so you'll catch us having a good old laugh throughout this one. It's always so much fun to get to chat with our directory members, get their words of wisdom for our lovely readers or listeners, and just click on another level, which Josh and I definitely did in this one.
I am so looking forward to this chat. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Josh is one of Australia's leading wedding celebrants, and he also created the Elopement Collective alongside his wife Britt, which is a team of amazing wedding vendors who create epic elopements in Australia, New Zealand, Bali, Europe and the USA. Josh helps create epic and honest, good fun wedding ceremonies for adventurous couples around the globe, and we are so excited to have him on the Polka Dot Wedding podcast to talk about beautiful personal wedding ceremonies and the Australian wedding scene. Thanks for being here, Josh.
It is so nice to be here. If for no other reason, I get to talk to someone with an Australian accent speaking English, which in my current situation is really rare.
Well, I was just going to say, it's a delight to have you join us, and all the way from Italy with your family. What inspired you to go on this incredible journey to this beautiful destination, all around the world?
Oh, this could have been a very personal experience, but some things happened through 2020, 2021, 2022 that really took the wind there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, don't know if that happened to anyone else, but
yeah, anyone?
Yeah, actually, side note, I find it so funny. Like we were also kind of like tiptoeing around talking about COVID.
Yeah.
And just, don't mention the war. But yeah, COVID was just not great, and so coming out of that, for a moment there, I thought, I wonder if I'm not going to do weddings anymore. Like is that part of me kind of dead? And so for those that follow online, you might have saw that I stepped into real estate for a couple of months and realized that it is not for me at all.
Was it, Josh? Is it?
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of just, you got to try anything once.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I realized, I do want to do weddings and elopements. I'm good at them. People like it. I like it. This is a good deal. But we just need to have a break. And so at the time of recording, about 11 months ago, and then I got a house at Airbnb and we left home, and we've been, as the song goes, we've been everywhere, man.
This is fantastic. How's it going with two small kids?
They're good. We've still got 2 kids that do a daily head count, which is important, they tell me.
Good point. Good
one.
Well.
One of those little clickers they have at the front of nightclubs.
Yep, 2 for 2, winning.
2.
Yeah, that's great parenting.
Yeah, winning. Yeah. No, you should honestly buy my parenting book. It's very thick and good.
Very thorough. Kids are alive and well. Look.
Truly.
That sounds. Well, I'm very jealous. That sounds incredible. And hats off, as someone who has 2 small kids. Hats off to you and Britt for really tackling this and knowing what you both needed to do, in a time where, like you're saying, there's wind out of sails and a bit of a bit of a murky sort of time in life, and sometimes you just need to go, all right, what do we need as a family? What are we going to do? Like what's going to lift us up and really, let us be in the moment as well. So, well done. I'm glad that you stepped into real estate and then decided to come back to weddings, because you've made quite a name for yourself in the Australian wedding industry with your celebrancy work. Could you share a bit about your journey and the various interests you have beyond celebrancy?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my life's work, so it's always exciting to talk about. I remember going to a family wedding, and it was in Hervey Bay, and which for anyone who's been to Hervey Bay, I just want to set the scene. Hervey Bay is a beautiful coastal town. Not a lot of beach, particularly right in town. There's beaches around a bit. And there was a family wedding in Hervey Bay on the beach at Hervey Bay. So there's all of the 5 meters of sand. And I can just remember the celebrant there just doing the work, but not really emotionally invested. And I understand how that celebrant got to that place, because you do 1,000 weddings and you're like, just another day at work and do your thing, bada bing, bada bang, kind of get home and have a wine. But I was trying to think about that was really that celebrant missed the mark on that wedding, because it was really special that they were getting married. Like I say, everyone getting married is very special, but that particular wedding was it was good and it was special. It was just good. And I walked away from that thinking I could have done better. Which is quite an arrogant thing to think at the time.
No, but that's fair.
So but that's how anyone gets into anything. You see a photo of, I could do better, and you start taking photos, you realize you suck, and then 10 years later, you're a good photographer. And so that's what I've done. I walked away and I did the things you've got to do to become a celebrant, which there's a lot of work and whatnot in that. And I became a celebrant in 2009. And at that point, you then realize that it's all well and good to kind of have the authority to marry someone and even to have the good idea, but to run the business around that, to actually build a scaffolding that allows you to be a celebrant that you want to be, that's taken time. And so I've been full-time now for, it must be 10 years, and December this year I've been full-time.
Amazing.
And it's been the best ride ever. In that time I asked my wife Britt to marry me. We've had 2 kids. I've been lucky enough to do weddings on almost every single continent, including for you, Antarctica and Africa. Bring it on. So, it's been such a blessing to be the person who gets to stand with people on their wedding day and with them breathe their marriage to life. It's been such an epic journey.
That's exactly what we're all about, Josh. I love hearing that, because it's not just about, throw the official words out there and get it done. It's celebrating 2 people and a love story. So, I love that you've walked away going, we need to do better. People need to do better, and I'm going to be one of those people. You had mentioned to us that Australia is celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Australian Celebrancy program, and it is evident how much it has transformed the way Australians approach weddings. Can you delve into the fascinating changes that celebrancy has brought to wedding ceremonies?
Yeah, it's still evident in the culture today that there's a way that people think you need to get married. If you ask ChatGPT to plan me a wedding, if you just type those words in, it'll bang out a bit of a timeline, and you got to have some shares and an arbor, and you got a photographer, and all those things, which is not inherently bad, but that definitely was the way 50 years ago. If you got married, you would ask your local priest, pastor, minister, whoever it was. They would tell you, we've got this date free. It would happen within a couple of months, generally speaking. You'd have a photographer for 15 minutes after the ceremony. The reception might be in the church hall next to the church, and everyone would bring a plate. And it was like, this is how you get married. And if you were a little bit fancier, you'd kind of go to the hotel or whatnot and have the fancy hotel reception. But the act that Noel, the Attorney General at the time, made in the saying the right to marry people should be extended to all Australians, and they created the role of a marriage celebrant, which was a world-leading role at the time. No one else in the world. And still today, very few countries have done that. I'm talking to colleagues in the UK and America, and they're still fighting for this civil celebrant role to be a thing that's just enshrined in law there. And Lionel said that, look, anyone can marry you as long as the celebrant meets these conditions and they do this education and they're this kind of person, they're a reputable person of good reputation or whatnot. Then then they can be a celebrant as well as ministers. And they created that role. And 50 years on now, 80% or more of weddings in Australia are officiated by a civil marriage celebrant. And not only has that transformed the ceremony because it's essentially put the ceremony on the free market. It's this thing that happens where you get married, you can have any color you want. There's the old joke about cars that when Henry Ford was making cars, he said you can have any color you want as long as it's black. and that was definitely the way it was with ceremonies 50 years ago. Whereas today you can have any color you want of cars or marriage ceremony, and that has rippled out from the ceremony to every aspect of marriage celebration. And I deliberately not use the word wedding there because whether it's an elopement, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a registry style kind of thing, going to the courthouse or the registry office or going overseas, whatever it is, if you're getting married today, you have the world of opportunity to celebrate it in an authentic and real and true way for you, which is just something that wasn't made available to your grandparents and maybe not even your parents, which is kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. It is. Well, when thinking about the scene now and how unique and individual each sort of, wedding ceremony and reception and like you're saying, the beginning of a marriage, that's sort of reflective of a marriage, isn't it? Like marriage now looks so different to what I think it used to look like. And that's, your wedding is the beginning of that. So of course it should reflect you and look like how you guys are going to look and how you're going to start your marriage together. And it makes a lot of sense, but it's also just crazy that, so many countries are still holding on to a very, very, very traditional kind of blueprint for that and not letting so many people from different walks of life be able to, create what they want for their wedding day. And that includes who they choose to marry them. So, yeah, that's incredible. That's really, really interesting. And look, a little plug here. We're also thrilled to hear about your upcoming book, The Rebel's Guide to Getting Married. Can I ask what inspired you to write it and what can listeners look forward to discovering within its pages? Is it specifically around ceremonies, or is it like you're saying, there's wedding and then there's marriage, or is it more sort of on the marriage side of things?
So getting married isn't about getting married. Getting married is about being married. Kind of the same way that if you get on a Qantas plane today, the Sydney airport, and you're going to America, people like me can get a little bit nerdy about the plane type and which seat you're in, and you're flying a king of your business, and all of those things are really nice. Like, of course, it's all very nice to, if you fly the front of the jet on a nice plane, get a nice meal, that's really lovely. But in the end, that's not the thing. The thing is getting off the plane to LA and having a trip in America. And so getting married or having a wedding or an elopement, whatever it is a little bit like that flight. Like you've got options, there's different parts of the plane you can fly, different seats, different kind of tickets, etc. But it's not the thing. The thing is being married, being on the trip. And so I've called it The Rebel's Guide to Getting Married because it's about getting married in a true and authentic and intentional way. And the book itself, I'm on a second rewrite at the moment because I wrote a whole book, which seemed like a great idea. But I gave it to some friends and they said, it just doesn't sound like you. It sounds like the book you think you've got to write. So I'm now on a second rewrite, which is lots of fun.
And injecting and more of you in it. Is it more of sort of your tone or your sort of...
Yeah, well, more of me, but also more of my couples. I'm actually going back and I'm inviting couples to tell the stories that they want to share from their getting married experience. So, because that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about not weddings, but people getting married.
People.
Yeah, they always find it funny when you kind of meet wedding professionals and they're like, I just love weddings. I'm like, I know that they're not saying something bad like that. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't love weddings. I love people getting married.
You love the people. Yeah, no, absolutely. You love the stories. Exactly, you love to actually connect with people who are just happen to be getting married and just happen to require your services.
Yeah, like if I was attending 130 weddings a year, I'd probably just die outside. But I'm not attending 130 weddings. I'm staying with 100 odd couples, and they're getting married, and that's great. Like, could you imagine being a guest at 130 weddings a year? You'd die.
Well, alcohol poisoning would
probably.
be bad.
Yeah. So that's what I'm really passionate. I'm really passionate about people.
Yep.
Actually, you know, the kind of the spirit behind it actually came from Britt, her grandma, who I never met. From the time Britt was a little girl, she kind of imbued in Britt the kind of person she could marry, and she would literally pray for Britt and say, you know, like, I hope you kind of marry this kind of person, and then Britt married me, and I hope and believe I am that person. Britt tells me I am, which is good.
Oh, good. That's excellent.
And but she had this thing where she said you should start how you want to finish, which kind of harkens back to there's so many people have said this quote different ways, so I'm not really going to attribute it to one particular person, but the idea is that how you do anything is how you do everything. Which kind of the spirit behind that is when, you know, if you're on a date with someone and the person that you're on the date with is an asshole to the server, then that kind of says who they are. And so I feel like the way you get married is how you be married, that you should have this intentional, good marriage celebration, call it a wedding, that how you get married is how you be married. And so everything that happens there should just reflect who you are. And that's the spirit behind the book. That's also just the spirit behind me as a celebrant and me as a person. And so that's why I'm writing a book, because I want to get that out in a way that could just maybe help someone else, because I can't be everyone's celebrant. Not only is that kind of, you know, mathematically time-wise impossible, but also I'm not the perfect celebrant for everyone. And I don't have to be everyone's celebrant, but hopefully they can catch this spirit and actually have a really awesome wedding.
And connect with, you know, like you said, you can't be everybody's celebrant, but even if they have this sort of tool and this sort of knowledge, it means that, you know, whoever they choose to kind of help them, like you're saying, create the start of what the marriage looks like, which is marriage celebration, call it wedding, you know, that they will seek out the people who help them create that.
Absolutely,
as opposed to just going, I'll just pick them because, look, they're free. Like, you know, like, well, not free, but as in like they're free on the date. They're free on the date, so may as well just go with them. And I guess it's different for everybody in terms of what specific parts of a wedding they value the most. But I mean, I personally think a celebrant is someone who, you know, needs to get to know a couple and gets to know who they are to really kind of help reflect their love story on the day. And your dedication to helping couples create weddings that really truly reflect their uniqueness is really commendable. So look, for our listeners, can you provide some guidance on how they can embark on the journey of this amidst, you know, all the noise and all the expectations surrounding all the planning of the day?
Yeah. I've got a little method that I just shared with a couple on a call before I was on the call with you. And so it's fresh in front of my mind.
It's fresh. Give it. Yep. Send it our way.
It's we'll call it the Withers wedding method. That you would start obviously with the person you want to get married to. Obviously, that's a really good start. Hopefully,
that's helpful.
So,
yep.
Step one. Step
there
two,
are two people.
Step two, you would figure out, and this is a real kind of introspective thing that a lot of people don't get to, but figure out like who are you? Like what are your values as a couple? And yes, they're going to change next month, next year, 10 years time. You know, that if you don't change in the next 10 years, then you're doing something wrong. But so yes, you'll change. But who are you today? What are your values? And how do you want to project that to your community when if you had to erect a billboard above your house that was just telling everyone who you are, like think of it like a marketing campaign, like who are you? And how does that get reflected in your marriage celebration? And once you've got that figured out, and then you don't have to have this solid plan. All right, we are this kind of people. We have a 8-hour package. Like it's not about an 8-hour package, but like what are our values and how do people like us get married? How do people like us celebrate marriage? From that, you select a team that can help you bring that vision to be. And well, hopefully that includes a celebrant, maybe includes a minister, maybe includes, like I literally had a meeting with a couple that looked to me and then they apologized and said, look, after your advice on this method, we've actually decided to have a different person marry us. And like no hate to me, but yeah, just that was their story. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you made that decision like that. The last thing any vendor wants to do is tell to a wedding whether they're not the right person to do that. And so, but that same method would like say, we really value photography. Thus, get this kind of photographer. Thus, we've got XYZ photography. to not use a name of a photographer. Apologize if XYZ photographer is a name.
Yep.
Yeah, and we want this kind of venue. We're going to have, and we want this kind of thing. We're going to have an ice sculpture. We're going to have human impersonators, whatever it is. You gather your team together, and then with the team together, you find out when they're available, and you kind of marry that with your budget. When can you afford to have this kind of wedding? So you don't go into debt, don't put on the credit card, but you can say we can afford to save this much money. And for us, we're going to have it on. It might be you can save up in 10 months. So you say to your team, when can we get married in 10 months? Team works together, say we're available this Saturday, and you book it on that. And the important elements of that are that you're intentional with your wedding and who's there and who's doing what. You're intentional with your money, so you're not starting your marriage broke or in debt. And then the date is a reflection of the team and your finances. And obviously, it might be you can get married in 10 months and that's a dead of winter. You're like, okay, well, that's not a good idea.
Depending where you are, if you're in Melbourne right now like I am,
yeah,
or if you're in Italy like you are.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously you got to use your noggin on these things. But you would create a marriage celebration that is on brand for you, that is within your budget and within your means, with all the right people and the creators and the vendors and whatnot that are there that can do that for you, and the right guests as well. And so there's this spirit of intention with it all that will hopefully just be like a virus for the rest of your marriage. That as you have kids or not, or as you buy a car, or as you, whatever it is, all these adult things that kind of are the fruit of your marriage, they'll just smell, they'll just stink of intent.
I get it. And it just kind of bleeds into everything else that you do for the rest of your life together. Like this is, how you want to start it. Not that for many people, it's not the absolute beginning, but it's like you're saying, it's the intent of being like, what do we want this to look like? How do we want it to reflect us? And then it's not just that doesn't just end on the day, then it's like, all right, that now goes into the rest of our life together. And that's, I agree, what I think a wedding should look like. It should look like what you're going to be, what your life is going to look like together. Just a big party version.
Yeah, look, you're right. It's not the start, but it's definitely part of the start process. It's
exactly.
A little bit. I don't know how old everyone listening is, but if you remember, I remember my first computer, and you'd press the big button and you get click on the front of the computer, my first computer, and it would take a good probably 5 minutes to turn on because there was like a startup process, and it would turn this on, it would turn that on, and that part of the computer would turn on, then it would spin that up, and it would run this program, run that program, do an antivirus, to start the computer. There was a series of processes, very slow processes that you would have to undertake for the computer to start, and your wedding is kind of, or your marriage celebration is part of that start process. That it's difficult. It's hopefully not the first thing. Hopefully you don't get married at first sight.
No. Oh, like the excellent show that it is.
Yeah, God help us.
Oh, God. That's a whole other topic.
But yeah, it's part of that start process, because it kind of, your wedding or your marriage celebration it's kind of the opening ceremony to, like, if you think of the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games or whatever, it's like the opening ceremony. It's like, hey, this thing is happening. We have a celebration for it. And then you go into the games, you go into your marriage.
Yep.
It's not this round out like, oh, I guess we've been together 10 years, love, we should get married. It's not this, it's not this completion certificate. It's this, it's a much better thing. So yeah, I can only hope and pray that everyone would have awesome marriage celebrations. That would just be so good and not good. I
know, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like not that it would be blog worthy or anything, but it would just be good for you. That you would just enjoy it.
That's it. Like, it doesn't have to look like it has to be in a magazine or it has to be on a website. It just has to be exactly what you together have envisioned for a celebration, and who you want there, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 100 people, whatever it is. You just want it to be good for them. They walk away and go, yep, that's exactly what I wanted it to be. With ceremonies being your thing, when it comes to creating and crafting like a meaningful ceremony, where do we even begin? Like, what's the first sort of step, do you think?
Yeah, that's really, that's a part of the process I find really interesting. I kind of consider a ceremony the pinnacle of the ceremony, the kind of the thing, like the kind of the chorus of the song, if you like, is a collection, isn't two personal vows that the couple would exchange these vows that are gifts to each other that are meaningful and beautiful and just true words. Not beautiful because you found them on Google, but they're beautiful because it's you being very honest and very authentic and very vulnerable. And then there's kind of there's the lead up to the vows, and then there's the kind of, I guess, the walk away from the vows. And so the lead up to the vows obviously starts with getting ready and everyone arriving at music. I kind of consider that like this on flow. And so the ceremony is kind of setting the stage, just kind of warming up, not just the couple, but also your guests for a time when you can exchange vows kind of confidently. And so we would start talking about who you are and why you're getting married. And obviously your story is part of that, but also the kind of thing I'm more excited about is your story that we're writing today. Because, it's funny, like a lot of celebrants really spend a lot of time retelling the couple's story, their love story, if you like, as to how they met, which is a valuable and a good story. And I kind of feel like hopefully everyone there knows a lot of that story. We might retell some of it or can remind them of a few parts. But the exciting part is where we're going. And so that's kind of where my heart is, that we would start talking about like where are we going as a couple, get to the part where we exchange vows, and our rings are a thing people do apparently, so we'll exchange some rings.
Still happening.
Walk out on a high, and I feel like I didn't go too deep there, but that's because every ceremony is so different. Like honestly, every couple is so unique, but that's definitely the kind of the template. That's the scaffolding that I've got for a ceremony.
And so not even specifically about how did we get together, or anything like that, but more in terms of, who are we together and what do we want? Like, what does the future look like together? Sort of, almost aligning that and really discussing that and kind of injecting that into a meaningful ceremony in that sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And, I think there's been this sort of fear about a ceremony, but I think for a lot of couples, the ceremony, they sort of feel quite, on spotlight, that it's kind of the big show of everything, which it definitely can be. And for some, they're totally down for that. But I think it's also figuring out about how much you want it be kind of the showy type of thing. Like there are couples who are a lot more shy and have a bit of fear around being up there and having everyone watch them say things to each other or along those sort of lines. Do you have sort of any tips or advice on how you can sort of either overcome that or kind of change your thinking around ceremonies in that way?
There's 2.5 attributes you can consider in that problem-solving space. The 0.5 is the vendors you got involved, because hopefully you've chosen them ahead of time. You haven't just got a rando celebrant turning up.
Grabbed on the day. You're free. Good.
I was on a Zoom. I was on a coaching call with a celebrant recently, and he goes, "I've got to go. I just got a wedding booking." I'm like, "Oh, cool." For later on. He's in LA, and he's like, "No, it's now." I'm like,
wow. Go, I guess.
Yeah, go, I guess. Yeah, yeah. So the 0.5 is like the event. So you've obviously chosen, you've vetted them. So they're less of a wild card than the two other things, which you still have a lot of choice over, but they're the two biggest contributing factors. One is where it's happening, and two is who's there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to actually say a third thing: when it's happening.
When it's happening, okay.
So when it's happening, because these are these three things, like where and when and who's there, they contribute to anything. Like if you and I were having a coffee, just as if this wasn't a podcast, we was having a chat. This is a very different conversation. In Italy, yeah. If
could we have it in Italy, not in cold Melbourne?
Yeah. So literally, but that's a really good example. If you and I were having a coffee in Italy, it's like the sun's setting, it's at 8:30 p.m. and we're at a cafe having a coffee. That's a completely different vibe, and you might be more or less comfortable depending on everything.
I mean,
then compared to, say, meeting in the morning in cold Melbourne, and it's freezing, and maybe it's raining, I don't know. Like you're more likely to be open and comfortable. Like, have you ever considered that? You know how we get really deep around campfires?
Yes, we do.
we've got a drink and there's marshmallows and it's like 11 p.m. It's dark.
There might be a guitar.
Yeah. And like, and next minute we're talking about like, what does the universe even mean,
Yeah,
man?
that's it. Who are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, what are the stars? Like, what is this even? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. So bring this back to your wedding, like where it happens. Like you get to choose what kind of setting. This is why so many weddings are outside, because it's just nice.
Yeah.
But like what kind of venue, like what is it, indoor, outdoor, etc. Like, so where it happens, you get to choose that. You're allowed. And when is closely timed to that? Like, is it happening close to sunset? Because that's just a really nice time. Or is it happening at 10 a.m.? Like, did we all just have some Whitbix and we've gone to your wedding and that's a different vibe?
I'm keen.
Honestly, Whitbix, there's worse things.
Oh, seriously.
And then who's there? Like you were like, once again, come back to the coffee conversation. If it's just you and me having a chat, that's a different conversation to say our partner's there, because like, well, maybe they're, I don't know what yours is, but are they in the wedding industry or not? So it's a different conversation to we're in front of a crowd of 30 people having, maybe this is a podcast in front of 30, polka dot kind of readers, and like they're having a seminar kind of thing, which is again a different conversation to if there's a crowd of 30,000. And so who's there really dictates how you feel. Something I try to encourage our couples that are eloping is to consider, because an elopement is different to a wedding. It's less of a show. It's more about you're inviting people to come and be with you for a thing. And so I say with elopements, I wouldn't invite anyone that you wouldn't invite into the birthing suite, if you're getting birth.
Yep.
Because that's a select group of people. Like Jim from work isn't coming to the birthing suite,
No, it's not. I mean, some people. So that's it, exactly what you're saying, which is create the space to be as comfortable. If you know you're going to be possibly uncomfortable in this experience of feeling like you're on show, don't make it a show. Don't surround yourself with the people that you really feel comfortable with in a safe space to do that. Make sure the vendors that you have, you're really comfortable. Feel self-conscious along that sort of line.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't consider, particularly if you're having, you can kind of hashtag big Greek wedding, if you're having that big, 120 guests kind of vibe, it's highly likely the person you're going to spend the most time with on your wedding day is your photographer. Not your maid of honor, not your best friends, not your partner.
Nope.
Your photographer. Like hour on hour, you'll see them more than everyone else. And so if you find someone, you're like, they're a bit off, or they're, I don't know, whatever you think of them, like, you get to choose. Like, there's more photographers than there is celebrants. Like, get on Google, man. Get on Polka Dot. Like, have a look at something.
That's it. Like, put together an Excel spreadsheet and start chatting to people and figuring out who you really connect with and really feel like you vibe with. I think that's super important. That's really actually such a good point of the person that you spend the most time with on your wedding day. Probably the person you speak to the most too.
Yeah,
Can you do this?
yeah.
Could you move this way? Can you turn this way? And that's ceremonies sort of have traditionally followed a really specific format. You're walking down the aisle, official staff, the vows, first kiss, signing, and all that sort of stuff. Like, how do you think you break this down so that, if you're planning your ceremony, like, so you figure out what you absolutely need to do and how you can make it your own? Is it sort of just following that same sort of blueprint of what do you feel comfortable with? Who are you individually and as a couple? Like, what are your sort of thoughts on how you can kind of figure out what your ceremony does or does not need?
There's ways that we feel as humans that we've kind of accomplished something. Like, for example, I can't kind of finish the day, like I can't lay down in bed and really commit to a good night's sleep unless I have cleaned the kitchen. I've got to clean the kitchen. I just can't. And I've got to have a shower and brush my teeth. There's been a few nights where I've been really tired and because we're traveling and the toothpaste is downstairs or something like that. And a normal person would be like, I can skip this brush.
No one's going to know.
No one's going to know. The dentist is even here, man.
Yeah, that's it. We're in Italy.
and I've laid down and I'm like, all I can think about is that I haven't.
I can just feel my mouth.
And so, my mouth is there. And so kind of consider that feel when you're talking about your ceremony, that that these things have to happen. Like I can't get married unless, and because I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to like, I'll talk all of wedding planning, but especially the ceremony, people feel like they've got to stuff all of this stuff into it. Kind of like a turducken. Do you know what a turducken is?
I think I do. Wait, is it a turkey?
It's the chicken and the duck and the turkey.
Yeah. Collective.
It's all shoved in there together.
Oh,
It's
yum.
I'm a big fan.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had it. Okay, not at all.
Yeah, it's a win.
Okay.
I don't think they're serving it in Macca's tonight, but it's probably it's serving. It's on serving somewhere. So your ceremony isn't a turducken. You don't have to stuff all of this stuff into it. You have to I'll get some readings and we'll get mum to do a thing and shove like it. It's probably much better if it's more on the, I feel like minimal sounds like the wrong word, but
stripped back a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, just free for the celebrant to celebrate your marriage in an authentic way, free for you to say some vows, so it doesn't feel like we've got this, we're going through this run sheet of 30 things and now Jack's going to do a dance.
Yeah.
And they're like,
and go Jack.
It's it's not this bam, 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 let's get these things happening. It's much more cadence that is more human. And so I would encourage anyone to kind of give their celebrant some rope to kind of play with, to kind of give them some freedom, that you would kind of let them create a ceremony that they think would be good for you, and a good celebrant can do that. But you would also be very forward to saying what you do and don't want. And you might have nothing to say on that regard. You might also say, hey, look, this is weird. You might not do it, but I'm just going to say it. I don't want any snake sacrifices on my wedding. And so they'll be like, cool.
And so everyone's like, what? That's my speciality. Everyone's doing them.
It's the hottest thing. Have you not seen the 2024 wedding trends?
It's on TikTok.
Gosh. And so be honest about those things, the most common thing I still get told today, and it kind of makes it really sad that people think this is the thing, but they'll say, oh, hey, we don't want to do the kind of submission to husband.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, yeah, that's not a thing, man.
No.
Like, I'm a civil marriage celebrant. But anyway, I thank you for telling me. I wasn't going to do that, but I will not do that. And this comes down to everything, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, have not great relationships with parents and family. And so if I was getting married today, I would say, hey, we don't need to publicly say anything about my family, but particularly don't need to do who gives this person away and any of that. So say all those things, because you get to say what's in your ceremony. You get to decide how it is. And so yeah, I know the way that I create a ceremony is very much by talking to a couple. And as we talk about things, as we talk about life and parents and how you met, I very much have an idea, like, I think this ceremony will be good to them. And then I might have a bit of a crazy idea, and I'll kind of suggest it, and I'll say yes or no, and then that's great. Because I'd rather say no today than have a bad ceremony.
Yeah, yes.
I'd rather have awkward conversations today and have a good ceremony.
That's it.
That's the plan.
Exactly. Back on sort of you talk about family and what to include if you may or may not want to, in your experience, how do couples navigate sort of any cultural or family traditions, while still creating a ceremony that still feels authentically like them as a couple?
Yeah, that's such a deep and long question, because every family is so weird. Like, if you think your family is the only weird family, you are yet to leave your house for the first time in your life.
That's it. You are cloistered. It's because trust us.
Yeah, every family has their stuff,
That's it.
and there's some things in that list that you would celebrate, and there's some things in that list you would not hide or avoid, but just like, we're okay. But now I don't have to mention my uncle, etc.
Yeah. Don't mention him.
That's the funniest comedian. He said, I just became an uncle. And he goes, it's really hard being an uncle because you've not got much to do. But the second someone says you're a bad uncle, everyone knows what that means. They can say you're a bad dad, like, oh, what happened? Like, you say you're a bad uncle, like, they know.
Yeah, let's leave him out of gatherings. Like,
Yeah. So family is such a personal thing that I'll be honest with you, I don't avoid family stuff, but I kind of unless given strict direction, I personally don't really go there too much, just because just every story is so unique. Like I've seen couples on their marriage paperwork wanting to say, oh, hey, instead of putting my dad, can I put my stepdad? And I said, like, hey, I hear you, but no. You can, luckily in the paperwork today, you can say unknown if it is unknown. And don't tell me if you're going to tick unknown, because I don't want to be involved in a fraudulent thing. But hey, if you don't know, and that's cool, don't tell me.
Don't just leave it. Yeah, I'm none the wiser.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's your marriage paperwork. I just have to believe you're telling the truth, so don't make me think otherwise. Yeah. So families are hard one. Hey, it's I'll give you some of the tip, because a lot of people want to involve family. My favorite little thing to involve family is particularly mums, because sometimes mums feel a little bit maybe left out. Particularly mothers of grooms. Yeah, God, the mothers of grooms are the number one red flag at any wedding. Like when you say my son's getting married today, I'm like, I am watching you. So a nice way of involving mothers is to get them to be the witnesses on your marriage paper and your marriage certificate.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
True.
It's a freebie.
It is. Oh, thank you. And like having been part of so many weddings, like what do you believe are like some of the key elements that make a wedding ceremony truly special and meaningful? Like some of the, from what you witnessed, what has really stood out as some things that make you go, yeah, that was really heartfelt. Oh, that got me right in the feels.
It's actually so simple, and this can happen, and hopefully happens both. But it can happen from a celebrant to a person, or celebrant to a couple, or between the couple, from one to the other, that they would just do something. Typically, you kind of saying something, but it can also doesn't have to be saying something. I'll give you an example in a minute. But they would signal that they see you, that you're seen. That it's as simple as that. Because what we want to know, hey, just to know that someone else saw me, like, oh, hey, you read my blog? Thanks, man. Like, no one else did.
Yeah. Oh my God, you commented? Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You click like on Facebook. Oh my gosh, I love you. So you would just kind of signal, you would communicate that they are seen, and that's more than saying I love you. If you, and I'm not betting, so don't feel anyone the need to do this. But if you want me to do anything for you ever, like just for free, if you want me to do your wedding for free, all you have to do is signal to me that you see me. You just like, hey Josh, I saw your blog last week. It was really good. I'd like to mention X, Y, and Z. By the way, you're free next week for the wedding. Like, yeah, but I'll do it for free. I'll do anything.
Thank you so much. Josh, you're really setting yourself up. You're going to note that down.
Dangerous ground.
So, hey, this Josh guy said.
I'll give you an example of a close friend that I married a couple of years ago in Western Australia. She's an amazing West Australian celebrant. Her name is Dilhari. Her brand is Kissing You Phil.
She's fabulous. Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's lovely. She's the best person. And I was her celebrant at her wedding, and her husband, or her now husband, when it came to exchanging rings, they had rings, but he also had a surprise. He had a box of Jimmy Choos. And I know everyone likes Jimmy Choos, but no one likes it as much as Dilhari.
She just
if you think you like them, yeah, you like
dreaming.
them less
You're not,
than her.
yeah. You're at like 30% like. Okay, so he had a box of Jimmy Choos. Okay,
and he reaches behind, pulls them out, and like out of anything else that happened that day, that was him saying, "I see you."
Oh my God, what a catch! What a gorgeous catch! And not because, like you're saying, like not because they're expensive shoes, but because he knows she loves them. He knows her. He's seeing her, and he wanted to do a thoughtful, surprising thing on the day. And again, it's about her. It's not about him. I love it.
That's not on any. There's no trend list that's on.
No.
Jimmy Choos probably are.
Yeah, but not like not in like a surprise your partner with Jimmy Choos on your at your ceremony sort of trend list.
Yeah,
and that's sort of metaphorical, isn't it? It doesn't have to be Jimmy Choos, but it could just be something else that you've either done together or you've done for your partner that just makes it that little bit extra, little bit again, brings it back to the both of you as opposed to everybody else watching. It's not, they're all there. They all love you. They're an audience. They're not actually part of what is properly happening and what's going forward. So just, meaningful, beautiful bits and pieces that mean something to you as a couple or to one of you.
Like it's nice the guests are there, but the second AI can replace your guests, you're out of the question.
That's
You're
it.
dead.
ChatGPT, please be
The
our
second
guest.
ChatGPT, like the second ChatGPT can kind of like authentically clap and cheer and laugh at a wedding.
Done.
Like you're
good.
Like I feel sorry for the invitation guys. They'll have no business. They're like,
well, actually, I was going to say, actually, one of my questions was on readings. So I've got here, readings are one way that we've found couples can personalize their day. This is hilarious now talking about ChatGPT. But so like, I loved picking out readings for my wedding. So I found that a very personal process. I found it really exciting. I loved it. It was one of my favorite parts about planning my ceremony. Do you have any advice for getting started on where to find readings that like reflect you? Because not everybody has them on hand like I basically did. Where do you look to start figuring out if you want to have readings, where do you find them? Like, where do you find ones that are unique to you or make you feel things?
So I'm interested. I want to turn the background to you because I feel like there's two reasons you have a reading. Maybe both or one or two. That the words have meaning for you and the best way to deliver them, or the best way to kind of experience those words are for them to be verbally part of your ceremony. Because obviously there's other things, like if you really like a scripture or a poem or something, there's other things you can do with that. You can email it to each other. You can put it on a poster. You can engrave it on a ring. When there's 1,000 things you can do with those words. So the one thing is like the words are valuable and important and mean something to you. They make you feel a certain way you want to feel in your ceremony. So they would be audibly exchanged or broadcasting your ceremony. Or the other reason is that you want to have someone involved. Or I want Jim from work to do a reading because
Uncle Jim.
He's for whatever reason. And
he's a good uncle.
So for you, he's one of the good ones.
I swear.
So for you, what was it? Both reasons, or one of those reasons,
for me,
or another one that I haven't mentioned? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Look, this is not very fair. This actually goes against what I'm kind of pushing here because I think that should be, if you're going to have readings, it should be a collective. You with your partner. What are we going to have? Why are we having these? Do we want them said do we want them said out loud? Do we want someone to say them? Ours were chosen at my husband's and my wedding because I love to read, and I picked two of them were from books. So one of them was from a book called The Alchemist, and that was a book that I gifted to my husband when we were first together, and he read it, and it really spoke about kind of the universe and love and souls meeting, and that's how we felt and still do feel about each other. And then the other one was from Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which was a book that I'd read, a movie that we'd seen together, and it basically talks about love kind of aging. And there's the beginning of love is, like a volcano, and it erupts, and it's really colourful and bright and very full on. But then, what happens when, your relationship moves on and it, you're together for a long amount of time, and it's about sort of the planting the seed of what you want your relationship to look like for many, many, many years to come. And we chose those because when we sort of read them together, it really resonated with us as individuals and for what we kind of wanted to say to the people at our wedding about us and about our relationship and about the marriage that we were going to have. So that's why we chose those.
Yeah, well, which is a perfectly good reason. Perfectly prominent reason, as Homer Simpson would say. But like that's why you include it, because these words, they're part of our tapestry, they're part of our story. Either they have been part of our story, or they're part of our story moving forward. As to this is who we are, because it's kind of a little bit ignorant to think that we all exist in this echo chamber and like nothing influences me, you know. Like you can put a rat in front of Fox News in America for 24 hours and it's gonna have certain opinions, you know.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Yeah. So like the inputs to our lives, the podcasts we listen to, the books we read, the poems we love, the Instagram inspiration we whatever it might be, you know, they all shape who we are. And so to share part of that is sharing part of your story. And I'll be honest, I'll tell couples that bring up readings that I'm capable of doing a good reading. I'm capable of doing a good ceremony without a reading. So if we're going to have a reading,
it has to
let it have purpose.
Yeah, it can't just be thrown in. It's got to have a place. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So there's and the other reason is like I want to involve someone. I would kind of say just throwing some words to someone because you want to involve them isn't the best way of involving them. Because I'll say involving / acknowledging people is a unique thing. Like I had someone recently who said, I really want to acknowledge my parents in my ceremony. Yeah. Go like all the reasons, like they were blessed to have great parents, and they wanted to kind of call that out in the ceremony. And I said, it's nice to acknowledge, like that's obviously a good thing, but knowing your mum and your dad, what is the best way to make them feel $1 million? Is it this stranger at the front going, yeah, Jack and Jill are great people? Or is it to pull them aside and say something to them? Is it to write them a note? Is it to them? I'm not saying me mentioning them isn't the best way to acknowledge them, but what is the best way so that they actually feel loved? Like, because I've seen people that have been given readings and like, oh, that's my best friend, guys, I want acknowledgement in the ceremony, and they get up and they're like, I want to die.
Yeah.
Rather than speaking to this bloody microphone.
It's like, I'm doing this for you, but gee, I do not want to do it. Like,
yeah. Which is like terrible and sad. Yeah.
No, I know exactly.
So
making it
let it have purpose and meaning.
Yeah, and making it sort of, if you're going to have people, making it, you know, why are you incorporating them specifically? And is this the best way to do it? Basically, but obviously the way that you're speaking and everything you're saying, you know, you value individuality. Like, what advice do you have for couples who want to incorporate non-traditional elements into their ceremony, like the snake ceremonies and that sort of thing, but may face resistance from family or friends?
I'll just, you let them know that a snake sacrifice is very important to you.
It's really important. It will mean really good things for your marriage going forward. Like, it's proven.
You just got to get a TikTok, Mum. It's...
Look at the reels. It's showing. So this is a thing. The algorithm. No, my algorithm going forward now.
Yeah, you know, it's in one way I find people like they acknowledge that they are weird, and I'm not saying that as if one like you are the one weirdo. I think it's really healthy to acknowledge we are all very, very, very weird. Except for me, I'm the only one getting around here.
That's right.
The rest of you guys are.
Yeah, that's what's going on.
But and so I like hopefully people are at a place where they can just know how weird they are, and they can find elements that would honor that and would celebrate that, because you certainly don't have to fit a mold. Like, I'm so glad that I don't hear this phrase much anymore. And the phrase is, we're having a rustic wedding, or boho chic wedding.
That's it.
And
like,
it's not a, yeah, but it's not even a dig at boho chic rustic
just
weddings.
beautiful.
They're beautiful, they're great and fine, but that's not who you are. Like, you're not boho rustic chic. You know, you are Jack and Jill. I don't know if you heard me say Jack and Jill are my throwaway, like,
yep, that's
insert person new names. Yeah, and so you were Jack and Jill, like you're these people, and so yeah, like be weird, like walk down the aisle to My Chemical Romance and then do your first dance to Taylor Swift. And like, no, those aren't conflicting thoughts. They're very on point, you know.
Josh's inner workings.
Yeah. And so like I'd really harken back to that, like celebrate your weirdness and do things that would make you feel just amazing, you know. That because it's funny, so many things with weddings, they talk about money and budget. Or I wasn't planning to spend so much money on on a seller or on a photographer. And I understand those conversations, but also yesterday we really wanted to have sushi and we wanted to go to the beach. And if you were in Puglia in Italy, it's very rare you get good sushi and very rare you get your free beach. Like there are free beaches that do that jam-packed, you walk 5 kilometers from the car park. And so no, I wouldn't normally pay €200 to go to the beach. But I did yesterday because I really wanted sushi and I really wanted to go to a nice beach. Because it turns out that, no, I wasn't budgeting €200 on the beach experience yesterday. But you know what? I had sushi on the beach. My kids played. I had margarita. It was awesome, and I was very happy. And no, I'll never see this €200 again. Yes, that's a lot of money to go to the beach, but you know what? I had a bloody good time.
It's the experience. It's it's not about I needed to have that specific, candle. I needed to have that specific shoe or whatever. If it's important to you, then that's fair enough. But it's saying, okay, but what is going to help you have the experience in the lead up or on the day or after the day that stays with you, that are going to create the memories.
Exactly.
And like you're saying, embracing your witness, embracing the things that you love that really make you, your partner who they are and who you are together. If there's pushback, like if there are people there going, what? No, you can't do that. It's a wedding. You can't have that. What? I mean, apart from just basically swearing, saying a very not nice word to them, to the person pushing back on it, how do you find couples can kind of work around that pushback, do you think, and really stay true to who they are?
I heard a really good line in regards to inheritance yesterday. A podcast I love to listen to is the Dave Ramsey podcast, and he talks about and he had a caller who he had been entrusted to deliver an inheritance to his a close friend's daughter. The friend had died, and he had many millions of dollars of inheritance for this daughter who was, I think, in her late 20s, and he was just ringing for some advice. He's like, because if you give a lot of money to someone and they're not in a place to kind of look after that, then there can be a curse instead of a blessing. Like if you give a drug dealer $2 million, you're going to kill them. And he was just looking for how to talk to that person about something so important. And the advice he was given is actually kind of similar to, I'd say, having any of these conversations with parents, friends, etc. about your wedding. Is the advice was to come at them with saying, I love you so much that I want to talk about this. And it comes from a place of I love you and I care for you and I know you love me and I know you care for me. And because we've established that kind of baseline that we love each other, you're my mum or you're my dad, and we love each other this much. Because of that, this is the conversation I want to have. Because I'm not getting married in my church, Mum, because I hate you.
Yeah, there's the specific reason for this is because could you not come to my wedding? But it's purely saying I want you to see me, I want you to understand me, and from a place of love. Yeah,
so particularly when it comes to guests, like the best people to not invite to your wedding are people who have already been married, because like they're like, oh, but it's $200 a head, and you're really about 100 people. Yeah. I would actually, if we're getting married today, like if we were literally, if we are engaged or we're planning a wedding, I would rather elope and still identify those kind of 50, 60 people that would be on the guest list and say, hey, we're eloping, but can I have dinner with you? Like, can I have a one-on-one thing? Because I would rather that than have a dinner with 60 of you.
Well, it's hard to get around to everyone. It is, but that's different personalities, and it's hard to get around to everyone as well. But if what is important to you is feeling, because look, it's easy to say because I've had a wedding where I've had, X amount of family and friends there, and it feels incredible. You feel incredibly loved and incredibly supported. So there is that side of it, but you do lose the ability to have one-on-one time with people.
Yeah. So if they're the kind of person that could take that well, then that's great. If they're not, they're probably the kind of person you need to talk to, really. Like I reckon Jim from work's going to figure it out. He's going to work out.
Uncle Jim.
Poor old Jim. He's copping a hit today.
What did Josh and Mary think about me? Like it's no, that's it. It's sort of, it's coming at any of these conversations with love, and it's saying, I love you, you love me. I know you have like an idea of what the day should look like, but it is my day, and this is the reason why we're doing X, Y, Z, and I want to explain that to you, and I want you to see me. I want to be seen and understood by you. So that's it. Yeah, coming at it with love.
Or also like, hey, I don't want to go into debt for my wedding. I want to start my marriage in a cash positive or as cash positive or as I can. And so I'm not inviting everyone I ever know. And I love you, but yeah. And hey, you know what? Good friends or good people, they
understand.
Like if you're sitting down with your good friend and hey, I want to go to do a thing. You're like, hey, I want to do the thing, but I've got a thing where I don't want to be in debt. And for me to do that thing, I'd have to go into debt. And do you want me to go into debt? Do you want me to pay 20% interest on this on my credit card? Or like, can we find another way for us to value our friendship?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Your friends and your family, if they like, not saying if they truly love you, but if they truly understand you, they will understand why you A, can't invite them, or B, can't have this particular thing that they think a wedding should have, or any of those sort of bits and pieces. Look, Josh, your work is incredible. You inspired many, and we're sure our listeners would love to know, apart from Italy, what's next for you in your celebrancy journey? Like, what projects do you have on the horizon? What are your plans? Can you give us any hints or any thoughts on what you have ticking away?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the European summer just as a vibe.
What is that? What do you mean?
Yeah, it's.
Who would?
I asked my 4-year-old the other day. I said, "Do you know what a vibe is?" And without prompting, I wish I was filming. She goes, "No, but I wish I was one."
Oh, babe. I
so,
bet she is.
You are a vibe.
Yeah, she's a vibe.
Yeah, she's a vibe. So our plan is actually to work the European summer for not just Australian couples. So this European summer, like the current period we're recording, and I've got couples from America and England and Australia that are either eloping with me with the Elopement Collective with my wife group, or they're just having a wedding on their Celebrant. So we're going to plan to do that for the next few years. And I reckon we're going to kind of homeschool our kids and actually to make that a thing that we can kind of be traveling people, because we love to experience the world and show our girls the world.
Yep.
So that'll always be an element of us. But I'll be honest with you, I'm actually really excited about just coming home. We're coming home in August and just getting back to work.
Yeah.
And I feel and I hope that we're not just post-COVID, kind of post-COVID now.
Yep. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I agree.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to kind of getting back into it. Because I talked about this earlier in the podcast, through COVID and whatnot, I was worried that I was finished, that I was just tired and I was done and I was old and I should just hang up the hat and I'm just finished. Like, because it just really, COVID did that. And I know now that I'm so pumped to get back to work. I'm so excited, today, I'll put a day aside to kind of talk to you and have some meetings, and I'll talking to couples from Western Australia, Victoria, and they're out Queensland about their weddings, and it just feels really good to get back to that. So between the European summers and even talking about some other little travel trips we're doing, getting back to work in Australia, between all those things and the book. So I've been talking about this book for a long time, and I've been working on it now all of 2023. I'm really excited to actually finish that. It's nice just to finish something, like I was saying earlier about cleaning the kitchen. I just want to clean the kitchen in my book. I just want to wrap it up and say, get out of here. Hey, man.
Yep. Clean the kitchen, brush your teeth, and finish your book. Like, these are the things. Well, that sounds fantastic because, excited to get back to work. That is passionate and that is motivating in of itself. So that's very, very exciting. And a book, okay. We're keeping our eyes peeled for this. We're very, very excited. Please keep us in the loop for how that is going for the rest of the year. Look, I think we're getting close now to wrapping up our fabulous conversation. Before we do, though, could you please, Josh, share a heartfelt piece of advice for our couples and our listeners, who are in the process of planning their dream wedding ceremony?
This entire life, this whole thing we're doing, and the only right way to do it is in a way that just makes you feel completely fulfilled and happy and awesome. And so that spirit should just be imbued from all of it, through meeting the person you want to marry, proposing, getting married, being married, that all the rules you think exist about how you're supposed to do things in life, they don't exist. I had a guy overtake me at a traffic light here in Italy the other day. It was a red light. He just overtook me, went through the light. Red lights mean nothing to me now, apparently. No. It's all just, we've just made up all these rules.
Who's following them?
Who's following them? So whether it's red lights, I'm not a lawyer, don't take this legal advice. Red lights, all planning your wedding, you are at the controls. You are holding the steering wheel, and you get to decide how much money to spend or not spend, who to invite or not to invite, how big or small or where it is. I'm just absolutely sick of hearing couples be weighed down by either uncommunicated expectations or worse, communicated expectations that are like a weight around your neck. Because this is your life, this is your marriage, and it's no one else's responsibility or fault if you guys don't have the wedding you want. So just have an epic one. Have the best one you could ever have. And whatever that means, to whatever extent, whatever budget, large or small, do it. Go hard.
Have the epic wedding that is totally and utterly you. I love it. Oh, Josh, that is all we have time for today. I just want to thank you so much for this terrific chat, this terrific laugh. Not only have you, made my day by, sitting back with me and from Italy and, giving me some fantastic words of wisdom to impart to our readers. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what you and Britt have in store for us. So with your book, with your work. So again, thanks, Josh. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
If you would like to find out more about Josh, including how you can book him for your wedding or elopement, you can of course head over to weddingpodcast.com.au. We have a full written transcript there and every link that you need. Now, of course, we want your feedback on today's episode. We would love your reviews, your emails, your DMs, your messages and your comments. So hop on over to your favourite platform because we're pretty much everywhere because we'd love to hear from you. We'll be back very soon with another episode of the Feel Good Wedding Podcast.